Yeah, this is always like,
Yeah, this is the hardest bit, I think.
yeah, just waiting for it to catch and always not knowing if you're
Yeah.
quite there.
Oh,
There
there
we
we
are. We are live. Yeah, so welcome to Sacred Business Stories. This is our weekly Substack Live where we really just have an honest conversation with entrepreneurs about what it looks like to build a business that's aligned with their deepest truth. And today we are grateful to be joined by Sue Reid, who is a certified confidence and self-belief coach. I believe you're also a NLP practitioner. Is that correct? And maybe
Yeah,
hypnotherapy as
NLP
well. Mhm.
therapy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll just give folks a little bit of time to catch up and join us here, and then we'll get into the official introductions and let you share more about yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, and I always like to remind people like why we are doing the Sacred Business Stories and the people that we are inviting here. And it's really like what sacred business is for us. So your ability to bring your gifts forward, your challenges, your victories, like all of who you are, and transform that into something that you use most of your time, right? Like business hours, work hours. That's often like what we dedicate more time or a lot of time in our lives. And this is just to inspire people. Like if one person can do it, like if that's the desire of someone else, like we all can do it. So it's really like to inspire people.
Yeah, yeah. That's so spot on because I think I mean when my story, my backstory, it leads into where I am now, and it's kind of almost it fits in with what you're doing because it's almost like I'm being pulled in a direction. When we start talking about my actual business, I'll explain more about how it wasn't meant to be a business. Really, it just seems to be unfolding. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah,
you,
it's
yeah,
really interesting because for myself too, like I feel that like I was chosen by the way I share. And we had someone that said once, like at one point, like you have no plan B, right?
yeah,
That's your calling. That's something that it's in your heart, and you just know that you got to keep going, that you got to keep moving. And yeah, like it wasn't me planning. Oh, I'm gonna create this, and I had all the plan. Like it was like a process of unfolding.
yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, so yeah, we'd love to just kind of open it up to you and just let you share a little bit more about yourself, your journey to where you are now, and what you're creating.
Yeah, so as I said, it's evolved. So it wasn't hi Sinem.
I
It
said,
wasn't meant to. It kind of wasn't meant to be, but I think it was meant to be. So I was in retail banking. I had a career for 42 years because I'm 66 this year. So in my day, this is what you did. You went into a career and you waited until you retired, and then that was it. And that's when people sort of shut off and started doing gardening and days out and things like that. And so I retired in 2019, and I had already moved to 3 days a week. So I had started thinking about, well, what do I do when I retire? Because I'm only going to be 60. I don't really want to like hang up my work at all. But I didn't want to go back to full time work. So to kind of understand it a bit more, if you go back to when I left school, I the reason I went into retail banking is because my dad said that's a good job to go into. What I wanted to do was be a doctor. So I wanted to go to medical school, I wanted to train to be a doctor, and that's what I had in my heart. But my father, well, both my parents, my teachers said, you're not clever enough. You won't pass all the exams. And I know they were trying to be kind and helpful because I wasn't the brightest kid in the school. But I was never given a chance to go and try. I was just told, you can't do this, it won't work for you, don't even bother, you'll get hurt. So that fed into my feet already feeling I'm not good enough, and that just fed into it even more that I'm just not good enough. So I settled for what my dad suggested. He said go and work in a bank, so I went and worked in a bank, and I had a good career, and I loved it. The thing I loved most about it though was meeting people and helping people. And so when I retired, I thought, how can I use what I learned in my career to bring forward into retirement? So I thought, well, I'll learn NLP, neuro linguistic programming, to anybody that doesn't know what that is, hypnotherapy. And then I'll do some like little side work, hobby type of thing, helping people with their issues, because I went through a very bad patch in my life with 3 horrendous toxic relationships. I nearly died because I got stabbed 5 times when I was 17. So that was the first horrific relationship. And then it just went from bad to worse from there. So I thought, right, well, I built up my confidence from like hitting rock bottom. And I love people. I really love meeting people and helping people. So how can I put those two together? So I thought, well, I'll do the hypnotherapy and NLP. And then, of course, then we went into lockdown because it was 2020. So I had to put that on hold. So I started writing. I wrote a book without really knowing what I was doing, but I just thought I'll write a book about confidence, put it on Amazon, got someone to do it for me, like to put the book on Amazon for me because I didn't know how to do that either. I didn't know anything about marketing or launching or anything. It was just like, do it, put it on there. Now I can call myself an author. Um, and so from there, I thought, when we came out of lockdown, I thought, well, I did like the writing part, and I do still like the helping people. So the other thing I did in lockdown was I took my certification to be a life coach, because I went to the Jay Shetty school online because Jay Shetty kept popping up. And it was like messages that come to you, like he just kept appearing, and like I was reading stuff and he'd pop up, and then I was watching something and he'd pop up. So I thought, okay, perhaps I'll be a life coach and I'll take a certification, and I can then help people with their confidence. So I passed that, I got that qualification. So now I've got 3 qualifications. But I still didn't think, okay, well, I could do a business with this. I thought I'll just, help people in my community, help people that I know have got issues. Um, and then Sinem came along. So she suddenly started popping up all over the place. So I watched a few of her YouTube videos. And then, of course, I signed up for her email. So I was getting emails from her. And then somebody else mentioned Medium, and I thought, well, that rings a bell. Oh, that was in that YouTube video. And then somebody said, well, if you write another book and you put it on Medium in stages, you'll get paid for it. And I thought, well, that sounds good. So I started writing on Medium, and I was hopeless. I didn't get anywhere. So I went back to Sinem and I said, right, now I want to join your program. So then learning how to write, and then it's just evolved from there. So the point where I thought, okay, this could be a business, is really when I came to Substack. And again, I only came to Substack because Philip and Sinem came to Substack, so I followed them. And I love it here. So now I'm still doing my one-to-one coaching. I've started taking paid subscribers. I'm building up my Substack. I'm doing lots of lives, as you've noticed, and I'm now starting to do. I'm writing my first online course, so, and that's with Yari, who is also part of Write Build Scale. So they've had a huge impact on what I've been doing. So yeah, so you can see how the business. It was never a okay, I'm going to start this coaching business. It was just evolving, and it just feels like I really feel now that I'm on the right path.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And like your story, like I would love to hear from you. Like you stopped working and then you kind of like fulfilled your daughter's role in a way. Your dad told you to do something and then you accomplished and like,
Yeah.
you did it. But when would you say that the turning point was for your confidence? Because before it was like people telling you that like, oh, you're not like the brightest kid, like you cannot do this, you should be doing that, and you kind of like follow that path. And was it like when you ended your job, like did you feel confident like way before? Like how was that for you?
Yeah, so it's funny because I was a shy girl at school, and I didn't really like school very much. I was desperately trying to fit in, but I think probably my mum had mental health issues. She had postnatal depression. I can see that now. I didn't realize it at the time, but she had it after my younger brother was born. So I was 8 then. And her mum had died. My grandmother died while she was pregnant. And I think it really hit her hard. And after that, she was never the same. And I think I felt unloved. Um, there were four of us, and I think all four of us really didn't feel loved after that. And so when you don't feel loved by your parents, you go looking for love. And this led me down these bad relationships. And so I didn't have much confidence. I was very shy. I was never taught about values and boundaries. So I was just like trying to fit in somewhere and not quite fitting in. Um, and so my confidence took a huge knock. So with every bad relationship, I went down a little bit further. So the first person, I was only 17 and I was stabbed and left to die basically in the street. Luckily, a couple of young lads found me and took me to a house, and then, but I had a punctured lung and missed my one of my major organs. I can't remember now whether it's my heart, but by an inch. So it was pretty serious. And then that made me think I need to be careful about who I next meet. And so I kind of found somebody who I thought would protect me because he was big and strong, but he was also quite violent and he used to beat me up. And so I then left my hometown of Gloucester to move to Devon with the next person that came along, who kind of was saving me, if you like. But then he turned out to be very controlling as well. So it's almost like when I was a little mouse, I was easy to control. But as soon as I started having any sort of personality and thinking for myself, he just had to bring me back down. So he used mental abuse. So I actually think mental abuse is worse than physical abuse because it leaves bigger scars. So at the end of that relationship, I was 38. And so three bad relationships. The third one I did actually marry. I shouldn't have, but I did. Um, and then when that ended, I had no confidence whatsoever. I didn't like myself. I thought I've ruined my life. I'm useless. I just can't get relationships right. I can't get life right. I was really, really hitting rock bottom. The only thing I was good at was my job. That actually, when I was with customers in the bank, I was really confident. Um, so that kind of it showed me that it was in me because I actually believe everybody is confident. It's the self confidence and the self belief, self love that you lack and self esteem. Um, so I didn't love myself. I thought I was a horrible person. I thought I've made a mess of everything. I don't deserve anything. All the bad things you think about yourself. And I thought, I have to change my life because I cannot go on down this road. I've got to do something. So that was my pivotal moment when I thought, I've got to find myself, find my confidence. So I started journaling because a friend said to me, if you ever had to go to court because of your ex-husband, then it would be a good idea to document everything he's done, everything he said. So I did that, which I didn't ever had to go to court, but it really helped me writing things down. So I started writing down my thoughts and feelings then, and I just carried it on. So that helped a lot. And then I started reading self-help books. And I just really slowly did a lot of inner work. There weren't life coaches around then, 30 years ago, well, just under 30 years ago. There weren't life coaches around then. I went to a counsellor, but I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to talk about the past. I wanted to move on, not go backwards. So I couldn't do counselling. So I thought I've just got to sort myself out. So that's what I did. So this is where I am now, is that I think my purpose now is to help other people that maybe have gone through their own trauma, their own bad relationships, that maybe don't believe in themselves enough, and I can help them to get where they want to be.
Yeah, I love what you share about like that you felt confident when you were working, and the fact that like, oh, I believe that everybody is confident and it's something that resides within us, and I truly believe in that. And sometimes like if we could just and that's like an exercise that sometimes like I do for myself. I'm like, if I'm confident, like I don't know, like at the gym, and then I'm not confident when I'm talking like in public. Can I just remember myself at the
Yeah.
gym and bring that energy? Because if I can do that there, it's a feeling. I could do that anywhere, right? And if I change my perspective about what the situation is, and I feel that like sometimes people think that it's separate, like the confidence is something that it's out
Mm.
there that you need, like, that comes from some sort of thing that it's not in here. And I believe that it can be built up in a way, but naturally something that it's in us. So thanks for
Yeah, I
sharing
mean,
that. It's really
yeah,
powerful.
if we weren't confident, I don't think we'd ever get anywhere. We wouldn't even walk out the door in the morning. We have to be confident.
Yes.
But what we get confused, confidence is a very misused word. It's that we don't have like self-awareness, we don't have self-belief, we don't love ourselves. These are the things that we're lacking. We don't think we're worth knowing and worth loving. This is what we need to build up. So this is what I'm trying to show people and help them with.
Hmm. Yeah, I love everything you've shared so far. So that actually connects well with kind of the next line of question we have, which is something we often talked about with our audience is that it's perfectly normal to kind of feel fear and resistance coming up, especially as if you're choosing to step into something meaningful, into something that feels really connected for you. And so, yeah, I'd love to ask you, as you've embarked on this journey with your new work, like if you could maybe think of like one area where you experience this fear of resistance coming up,
Mm.
and maybe how you work with that, and keep yourself moving forward, because I think this could maybe help others who find themselves, in a similar
Definitely.
situation.
Yeah, definitely. So, going back to when I was young again, the main person that told me I wouldn't be able to be a doctor was my father. So, and I know now he did it for my own good. He was trying to protect me and make sure I didn't get hurt, but he was also trying to motivate me to go down a different path, which worked. But that feeling of not being good enough, I felt, I think, all my life, and this came out when I was doing my coaching certification. We did observations, so we coached other students, and then the supervisor would observe us and feedback. And one of the things she said to me, the supervisor, was, "Why are you still trying to prove yourself to your father after all these years?" And that hadn't occurred to me before, but I think all of my life I've been trying to prove that I am good enough. So I think this is the thing, that although I realise that now, I'm aware of it, and actually I think it has motivated me to do well in my career and in my life now. It does push me forward, but there's still that, am I good enough? Like, doing anything, like coming on here, will people think she's talking, she talks too much, she talks rubbish, she doesn't know what she's on about? Will they judge me? And I'm not really worried about what people think of me, whether they like me, whether they judge me. But what worries me is if I make mistakes, if I say something that's wrong, if I upset somebody, it's just that fear of not being good enough. And I think that's what is my resistance sometimes. And also, like, when you look at other writers, other people on here, and they're doing better than you, and you think, oh, perhaps I'm not as good as I thought I was. Perhaps this isn't for me. And particularly when I was on Medium, I practically nearly gave up, because I thought, I just getting nowhere. Like, I'm not growing. I'm not earning anything really. And so maybe I should just give this all up. But coming to Substack changed all that, so it's a really good move. So yeah, my point of resistance is probably that, am I good enough? And the answer I have to tell myself is yes, I am. And the mantra that I've used for years and years that really works for me is, everything will be okay. So anytime rather, I'm doing something I'm nervous about, I just say to myself, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's very similar to my mantra that I used when I decided like to quit my job, and I had a plan and an idea, and everything went, of course, the opposite direction in many ways. And then I had the mantra like, everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me, and
Yeah.
everything was like just falling apart. And I'm like, everything is out, like repeating that over and over and over.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
would go for walks, just thinking about that. Like there was no other thought. There was just this, everything is always working out for me. And sometimes like I feel that we need that, right? Like we need the mind to be grounded in something that will keep you moving forward. Otherwise you're gonna just like give up or fall back into like patterns that it's not maybe serving you anymore.
Absolutely, yeah. And when you say things like that, everything is working out for me, that goes into your subconscious, and your subconscious believes everything you tell it. So it's going to look for proof. So it'll show you where you've been doing really well and where things have worked out for you. So, but of course, the opposite is true as well. So if you walk around thinking everything goes wrong for me, then your subconscious will show you evidence of what's going wrong for you.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And then as I was like repeating those things in my mind, then like things will start shifting, because I was like seeing from a different perspective. And then opportunities would show up, and then I'm like, yeah, like everything. And then it's like I'm proving myself right, right? Like everything is always working out for me, and it's very interesting because at the beginning, and I constantly update my own mantras, but at the beginning like I had to repeat that to believe. But I when I first said that, I'm like, I don't believe that this is
Yeah.
true, and I had to like insist on that. Oh, uncle traveling, yes. Thanks for being here. But I had to repeat that to the point that like right now, and I am very proud of myself for that. Like my inner voice is the first one. Like something like when shit hits the fan, my inner voice is like, just chill. Like
Yeah.
everything is always like it became the inner voice, which wasn't the thing before. So my subconscious like, but that wasn't like me walking one day saying that. It was like
Yeah.
quite some time repeating that
Yeah.
over and over and over.
Yeah, it does go in. It's brain training. You can train your subconscious to
Exactly.
think whatever
Yeah.
you want to think.
Yeah, and it's incredible what you were saying about your dad. It's interesting. I had very similar experience with my parents. In fact, my parents also thought I should be a doctor. That was like my mom, more my mom's dream, I feel. I did not follow their guidance, and it actually led on many years of kind of conflict. I actually eventually ended up dropping out of school and kind of following my passion at the time, working in the music business. But yeah, I ask myself often sometimes like how much that still affects me today. Because, for example, I was just spending about 2 weeks with my parents in the States. I just got back from that trip, and still today, like whenever I try to have the conversation with my parents, like they have absolutely understanding. They're like, "What do you do? How do you make money? What is this, internet thing?" And it's interesting. I catch myself like always this like need or desire like for them to like get it, and I just kind of have to keep reminding myself that, that's not necessarily their role, and they show their love in other ways. But yeah, I resonate with kind of what you were sharing about that experience for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's common. I think especially in my age, I mean, obviously you're a lot younger than me, but in my age group, I think it's very common because my parents, they were born during the war years, so life must have been tough. And so, wanting to protect their children, but also being quite shut off emotionally, I think that was quite common.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the next topic we love to talk to you about is, and I feel like you've found your rhythm with this, especially with everything you've been doing with the Substack Lives. But I know what a lot of people struggle with as they kind of try to step into their meaningful work is how to create these authentic, meaningful connections online, and to really allow themselves to express their message. And so I would love to just like ask you kind of any thoughts around how you view or approach connection, and yeah, what any advice you might give to someone who's maybe struggling in that area, and really feels like they have something that they'd like to offer more consistently
Yeah,
online.
yeah, yeah. I mean, what I'd say is just, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but just be yourself. Just don't. I mean, the temptation is to try to follow what somebody else is doing, and be like them because you can see they're doing well. So if I do that, I'm going to do well as well. And that won't work because trying to be somebody else will only work short term. Um, because your natural self will come through. And particularly if you don't believe in what you're doing, that will show through, and people pick it up. They don't realize they are, but it's that aura you're giving off that I'm not really sure of myself. So be yourself. Um, I mean, I just love connecting with people. I love getting to know people. So if you are naturally curious, I mean, even if you're a shy person, even if you don't, normally approach people, it's easy on here because all you've got to do is comment on what people are writing about. Just give your view. Don't just go, oh yeah, that was great. Just put some comment on something they've written, and pick out a few people that you do like, and perhaps try and comment on everything they do, because then they'll notice you and they'll probably have a look at you and think, oh, who's this following me? Just be honest, be friendly, be kind. um, just reach out to people. Just get yourself known. If you only write once a week and just put one comment on, and think people are going to notice you, they won't. So the more you interact with people, and also with the algorithm, the more you interact with people, the more the algorithm is going to show you to other people, because they think, well, this person does a lot. Um, if you can do lives, I think lives are great at the moment. I think it's a great way of getting to know people and also getting yourself known. I know it's scary to do your first one, but don't do it on your own. Just get somebody else, be a guest, come and be a guest on mine if you like. I don't
There you
mind.
go. Yeah, I mean, and I think I've shared this already, but like I've historically and for a long time struggled with kind of the on-camera video sort of thing, and that's in a way like why we chose this format, because we knew we really wanted to create something that created connection. I knew that I wanted to keep moving through that resistance, and this felt like a nice way to do it, where you know have to show
Yeah,
up and speak and talk, but also the focus is more so on you, right? It's like sharing
yeah,
your story and your gifts, and so I feel that people can find and that's kind of to the point that not to follow what everyone else is doing. People can kind of find the format that works for them, whether it is video or some other format. Yeah, so I love
yeah,
that. Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
I really see the
Yeah,
difference when you see people, right? Like there is a natural connect, like you can, and I love what you said about like you comment and then you interact, but there is a different connection when you talk to someone. And I feel that in this online world, because before, like you would only interact with someone if you met them. So we had to be like in person, you had to be seeing each other to
mm,
connect. And right now, like there's many different ways you can connect through email, and maybe you will never meet that person. And then you have like how often, like there was someone not long ago that I was reading his stuff, and then you create this image in your head, and then when you see the person you're like, oh my gosh, it's not.
right. Yeah,
Yeah. And then it's just interesting, and I feel that like even for our for our network, when people connect, like they've been in this community for a while, whatever, and they've been interacting, but when you put faces, like there's something natural that happens, that you engage in a different way. Like I don't know if it's like a what type of connection it is, but when you put faces, like everything is different. And I
yeah.
love the live show.
Yeah. It's strange because you feel like the people you meet are your friends. Like if you're interacting with them a lot, they're your friends, but you'll probably never actually meet them in person. And even if you do, it's probably only going to be once because they might live in another country. But you still feel like they're your friends. So it's a new way of creating friendships, I think.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
so much. It's so much fun though. Like,
Yeah.
so we got to know, and you may know her. Do you know Claudia Faith? She's pretty
Yeah.
active here on Substack. So she's actually, we met her on a live like this. She came on Sacred Business Stories, and she's actually traveling in Brazil right now for about a month or so. So we're hoping, I need to follow back up with her because I just got in town, but we're hoping to meet up with her in person, which I think would be so cool because it's kind
Yeah.
of to your point, like these things can take on a life offline, and I feel very similar. Like we've been meeting such incredible people on Substack. It's been a really beautiful thing. But I wanted to ask you a follow-up question,
Mhm.
kind of around your process and how you're sharing about doing the lives and coming. Like everyone's a little bit different to this, but do you kind of follow any sort of structure to how you approach those activities, or is it more just kind of spontaneous, kind of following what you're feeling connected to in the moment? Like, how do you approach that with your Substack these
Yeah, I
days?
mean, I work with my intuition a lot, and I think this goes with that feeling that I'm being pulled in a direction because things seem to like download in me. So, I like when I do my coaching, one-to-one coaching, I'll just come in with a blank page. I don't have any set questions to ask. I just say like, talk to me. But as I'm talking to people, the next question comes to me. So it's just pure intuition. The same when I used to do podcasts before I came to Substack, but I thought, well, lives are a lot easier because I don't have to edit them. But so the questions just come to me. So I don't have any format. It's a natural conversation because if I said, right, I'm going to ask you these 6 questions. I mean, your style is great because it's just a template. You're not actually asking me the question. Well, you are, but it's easy the way you do it. But if I were to ask people a set of questions, I'd just forget to ask them. You might have noticed I go off at tangents. I forget what you asked me in the first place. So I'm not very good at structure. I just tend to follow my gut and my intuition.
Very nice. Very nice. Um, well, that's essentially all we had. Caroline, do you have any other questions? I was going to ask if there's anything. This is a question I never asked before, but I felt compelled to ask you, which is there anything we should be asking you about that we haven't touched on, that you would feel
Okay.
called to share while we're here?
That's exactly what I used to ask people at the end of my podcast. So that's obviously been transmitted from me to you because I was
There you
talking
go.
about
Yes.
I've, I've asked that a couple times in other contexts, but I've never asked it on one of these lives.
On
So
a
yeah, there's
live,
something
never.
there. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess you could ask, what does the future hold? I don't know what that actually will look like, but what I've got in mind is I want to. I mean, I'm 66. I'm not gonna stop work until I have to. I do have this goal of living a long and healthy life, so that is part of the plan as well. Because if I want to live a long and healthy life, when I say long life, I'm talking past 100. But I want to stay in my own home. I don't want to have somebody looking after me. I want to do it myself. Apart from maybe the odd thing that I need help with. But so I want to live a long life. I want to have a really good standard of living, and that will need to be funded. So the money I get from my pensions and savings isn't going to last forever. So I need to earn money. So this is why this business does really need to evolve. Um, so the future for me is keeping my health, looking after myself, and I want to build a business where I can not have to work too hard, which I know that's what everybody wants. So writing, I want to write more books, but do it properly this time with the knowledge I've had now. I want to make online courses. So I'm starting one, which hopefully will be out in June. So see how that goes and then build from there. I want to carry on with the one-to-one coaching because I love that. And I've never done any group coaching. So I thought maybe I'll do some of that. So that's how I kind of want to build my business up from here.
Very nice. Can you give us a little bit of a preview on what the course is about, or is that top secret information at
No,
this
no,
point?
it's not a secret. No, it's going to be for professional women, and it's confident communication. Because when I was in banking, the one thing I found, I mean, at some points I was the only woman in a meeting, like with a lot of businessmen. Some of them were, higher grades than me, and it was always very difficult for me to speak up, and when I did, I often got talked over because I was the only woman. So I want to give women the confidence to be able to speak up in meetings, to go to things like networking events and be able to start conversations and approach people. And also, part of the course is going to be about body language as well, because if you are trying to be confident but your body's not showing that you are confident, that can be picked up by the other person's intuition as well. So that's what I'm building into it, but it's early days yet. I'm still working on it.
Do you have a sense of when that'll be going live, or or is that's
I'm
still
aiming
kind of
for June. I'm aiming for June.
okay?
So, but I'm going to do a pre-launch. I'm going to do this properly. So I'm going to do a pre-launch. So people will be able to buy it early or book it early, buy it early, and have a discount, a really good discount and bonuses if they buy it early. So yeah, look out for that. But it should be June time. That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really nice what you share about the body because, well, I work with embodiment, right? And often, like, we don't realize that we can shift your mind by shifting your body. And if
Yeah.
you put yourself in postures, like, whatever you want to feel, then automatically, like, your brain receives a message. And, like, yeah, I struggle with confidence, but if I could feel confident, like, how would I walk? How, how would my chest be, my
Yeah.
shoulders? And then little by little, you build up that energy, and then you start receiving thoughts of, like, confidence. So they work like yeah, very close to each other, and it's very powerful. And I want to say one thing to you about your future, because I have a mantra. It's probably for 2 years now that I say to myself that the older I become, more I become more healthier, more abundant, and more spiritual. So kind of
Okay.
like,
I'm going
so I
to
have
use
this
that
mantra
then.
of like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then like, and I keep adding stuff. I'm like, I'm more flexible, and I'm like, have a nicer body, and I feel even greater, so I keep like, the older I get, like, kind of going to the opposite direction that society in a way teaches, that the older you get, like, you start to like going
Yeah.
down the hill with your body, with your mind, with your activities. And I'm like, can I create something that I'm like going up the hill in a way until I die?
Yeah. That's
So that's
brilliant.
what I've been like training my brain to.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. I'm going to use that definitely.
Cool. Well, at this point, if there's anyone that's joining us live, if you have any questions for Sue, feel free to pop those in the comments, and we'll be happy to have Sue answer those for you. But while we're waiting to see if there's anything there, Sue, like obviously we're here on Substack, so it's always kind of like the obvious answer, like, oh, just check me out on Substack. But if someone was more curious about your work and wanting to learn more about, how to get into your world, any advice you would give, anything you might suggest that they check out?
Okay. Well, my book is on Amazon. So it's called Building Confidence, How to Thrive as a Shy Person. So that is on Amazon. But everything else is on Substack now. I do have a website, but at the moment I've shut it down because I've been working on it. So everything at the moment, you can find me on Substack.
Mhm. Wonderful. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with
Thank
us. We're super
you.
grateful to have you join us. We'll share this out. You've probably seen it, but we do kind of like an official
Yeah.
recap that we share with people. So we'll make sure you have a copy of that as well if you'd like to share it with your community. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. It's really fun to learn more about you, and excited to see how
Yes.
your work progresses with your course and everything you're looking to create. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely being here.
Mm,
Thank you. It
all
was very
right.
nice to connect. And as you said at the beginning, like, you feel that we know each other, and then just
Yeah.
connecting this way, like, it's nice.
Mhm. All right. Well, have a
Okay.
wonderful rest of your day, and thank you again, and we will see you on the stack.
Yeah. Take
Thank you,
care.
Sue. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.